Enterprise. Thank you very much for your participation in this workshop, Innovation and Digitalization in Europe's Work Integration Social Enterprise. This is a workshop organized by ESPD, ASPD Belgium, AFB Germany, Eurixe in Italy, Fondation ONCE in Belgium, and also ENSI. This workshop will provide an overview of work integration social enterprise, so social enterprise working for the integration of disabled and disadvantaged group in the European Union, and will describe in specific innovative product and process in order to boost the productivity and employability of WISE's worker, especially focusing on digitalization, new technology, and also collaboration with the for-profit companies. This workshop will be divided in a first opening session, then you will be split 2 times in breakout room, and then there will be a final policy panel. Some technical points regarding the workshop organization is that, as you can see, we have the sign language interpretation, and there will be also the closed captioning option. At the end of the workshop of this first session, we will have the possibility of a short Q&A session in which you could write your question to the speaker in the chat. So now I suggest that we can start. And I would like to introduce in this session Giulia Galera, Senior Researcher at Eurixe, Martina Paterniti, Project Officer of ENSI, and Konstantina Leventi, Policy and Project Officer at ESPD.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, Martina. So I'm waiting also for Giulia and Konstantina. Can you join us with your video, Giulia and Konstantina? Perfect. Welcome. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. So, welcome here. I will start with the first question to Giulia. Giulia is a senior researcher, as I told you. And I would like, Giulia, if possible, that you explain us a little bit what we mean by WISEs in Europe.
Yes, just a minute. I'm trying to share my screen. Can you see my slides?
Yes, it's charging, but we see your screen.
Okay, just let me anticipate that my presentation will draw on some preliminary findings of the BWISE project and the findings of the mapping study. So among the host of activities that are supported by social enterprises, the integration of disadvantaged workers is the most widespread. And WISEs are a specific typology of social enterprise that is aimed at favoring workers that are discriminated against by conventional enterprises. WISEs provide disadvantaged workers with appropriate on-the-job training to help them overcome their disadvantage and support integration into work through productive activities that enable to pay disadvantaged workers a pay that is comparable to that of ordinary workers. Disadvantages resulting into barriers to employment include, among others, the lack of formal education, low skills and cognitive abilities, physical and psychical disabilities, drug and alcohol use, and unstable housing arrangements. So we can describe WISEs as a double output enterprise. In addition to marketable goods and services, they deliver indeed also work integration services. To this end, they have developed 2 strategies. The creation of transitional occupation with a view to supporting the integration of disadvantaged workers into the open labor market, and the creation of permanent jobs within the WISE. So, as we know, the labor market is far from being perfect. On the one hand, there are applicants that are qualified and trained who normally have good career prospects. On the opposite side are positioned workers that are at risk of labor market exclusion. WISEs have precisely emerged as a reaction to the shortcomings of traditional labor policies, which have actually failed to ensure the full integration, the full work integration of workers bearing specific disadvantages. The advantages of WISEs stem from their expertise accumulated by working with specific typologies of disadvantaged workers, while acquiring specialized knowledge with respect to the impact of the diverse disadvantages upon various types of work activities. WISEs have experimented with appropriate organizational process, and they are thus more capable when compared to traditional enterprises of identifying the most suitable job according to the type of disadvantage a worker has. Furthermore, WISEs are effective also at integrating training and employment components. Finally, thanks to their features, they normally have inclusive governance models. WISEs are able to attract non-market resources, such as, for instance, voluntary work and the availability of community assets that would not otherwise be addressed, allocated to welfare development goals. WISEs provide a number of positive externalities for the community. They contribute, on the one hand, to improving the quality of life of disadvantaged workers, also by helping them regain control over their own personal lives, thus enhancing also social cohesion. Another positive externality is the reduction in the demand for healthcare services. WISEs vary to a great extent across the EU in terms of legal structures covered. We can identify three groups of countries. A first group of country where WISEs actually rely on existing legal forms, such as association, cooperative, and traditional company, that had not been designed specifically for WISEs. A second group includes those countries that have legally acknowledged work integration social enterprises, either through a specific WISE status or a social enterprise status that actually is aimed at recognizing different typologies of social enterprises. The WISE statuses have a long-standing history, especially in Central and Eastern European countries, whereas social enterprise statuses are more recent. The third typology includes countries that have acknowledged WISEs through the adjustment of existing legal forms. A pioneer role was actually played in this case by Italy, that adjusted cooperative legislation back in 1991 and was then followed by other countries such as Spain, Poland, France, and more recently Belgium, with a special accreditation scheme for cooperatives.
Giulia, 1 minute, please.
Yes, I'm coming to the end. Reliable data on WISEs are very hard to find. As you can see from this table, the estimated data vary to a significant extent across countries and range from 200 WISEs in Greece up to more than 5,000 in Italy. Some closing remarks. Consistently with the new needs arising in society, WISEs have progressively broadened their categories of people targeted, and at the same time also the fields of engagement of WISEs have been broadening so as to include emerging sectors such as recycling, for instance. When compared to other typologies of social enterprises, WISEs rely on a quite balanced mix of private and public resources, which include income from the sale of goods and services to individuals and commercial enterprises, and resources from contracts with public agencies, as well as public subsidies or the decrease in taxes and social security contributions to reduce the cost of labor of disadvantaged workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giulia. Really always very interesting in order to have a photo of WISEs in our Europe. And now I would like to pass the floor to Martina Paterniti, my colleague, among others. And I would like to ask her more about the innovation of WISEs. Please, Martina, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, so first, WISEs per se already have an innovative element in their raison d'être. Their management involves workers, customers, and stakeholders affected by its business activity. And this is very innovative, especially comparing this to the ordinary labor market. Besides, digital and innovative technologies are widely used by WISEs in Europe. Most of the learning, communication, and management processes is based on digital technologies. WISEs endow the sector of digital innovation with concrete tools such as training, technologies, ICT platforms, by reducing technological and skills gaps of WISEs, hence stimulating a greater territorial response in terms of social innovation. Technology provides greater flexibility, access, collaboration, effective communication, and participation. Many WISEs have adopted different innovative practices, and so they adapted to the current social and environmental challenges and to the digitalization process, and aim to build a sustainable development and circular economy models. We have a clear example within the NC network. For instance, Ateliere Fara Frontiere, whose Secretary General will join us later for the following sessions. Another example of the use of digital innovations is represented by applications for learning languages and language technology, which are used by WISEs that work with the migrants and refugees, for instance. Some WISEs use technology in an innovative way in order to promote work and social integration and to make technology easier and accessible to the use of both the employees and employers. So we also have interdisciplinary teams that are being formed in this purpose. As we already know, ICT tools can reduce employment barriers and implement supportive measures for disadvantaged groups. So we are talking about older people, migrants, and needs. Research has shown a positive relation between ICT and employability. Since the access and skills to use technology affect the employability and working condition. ICT has the potential to support the socioeconomic inclusion of social groups at risk of exclusion, such as migrants. Then within the WISEs sector, we don't only have disadvantaged groups of people. We also have other kind of staff. So we have supporters, enablers, for instance. So when we talk about supporters, we refer to job coaches, trainers, mentors. So these supporting staff working in WISEs use digital technologies to connect to partnerships with other members of the team, support workers at risk of exclusion through counseling, training, job coaching in a flexible, innovative, more efficient, and more formative way. Professionals supporting persons at risk of exclusion agree that the use of multimedia features, for instance, during training sessions, job coaching, and personalized support can accommodate different learning styles and cognitive capacities. Technology helps also enablers, meaning managers within WISEs, by increasing the overall efficiency, productivity, and innovation of the WISEs and their capacities to trade on the open ordinary market. Effective development of digital capabilities is essential, not only for the well-being and professional development of employees, but also for their participation and decision-making in the WISEs, for the delivery of the employment support, and for the development of the WISE sector in the broader sense. However, according to several studies carried out until 2020, digital skills gaps exist in the WISE sector in a similar way as they exist in the regular economy sectors. European WISEs should get access to digital innovation that are globally competitive in terms of performance and cost. We can remark, of course, several barriers to technology and also to the development of digital skills in the WISE context. And those includes, first, high costs and insufficient funding. Second, lack of information of the existing digital technologies. Third, lack of knowledge and skills on how to use digital devices in the WISE environment. Fourth, insufficient training adapted to the needs of the WISE sector.
Martina, 1 minute, please, not more.
Okay.
Thank you.
So to conclude, digitalization can only be effective if technology is sufficiently accessible. Training is offered in order to keep the pace with the technological development, and framework conditions for gaining new skills and optimal processes and organizational structures are provided within the WISEs. So this is in order to assure a design for all approach in what concerns technology, and a human-centered process. Technological innovation should be part of the strategy to overcome digital skill gaps in the WISE sector. This implies adapting digital technologies to the needs.
We have lost Martina, so I'm sorry for this, but at the same time, it's the time for Konstantina to present as the Be Wise project. What is this Be Wise project, and also why this is relevant also for our debate here. Thank you, Konstantina.
Thank you very much, Patrizia, and hello, everyone. I'm Konstantina Leventi, Policy and Project Officer at the SPD, and indeed today I will present to you the Be Wise project, and this project stands for a blueprint for sectoral cooperation on skills in work integration social enterprises, and it's funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. I was thinking in the beginning to start and present to you the why behind the project, but that has already been mentioned from the previous speakers, so I will be very brief. And something that I would like to highlight here is that, as we have seen, we see that digital technologies have been spreading and has been spreading with a very fast pace throughout the WISE sector, but also that digital technologies are evolving. But the speed that workers develop skills is not the same. And for this reason, we clearly need to develop an EU strategy to address the skill gaps in the WISE sector. So the Big Wise project is a project that it will run for 4 years, and it just started in January 2021. And throughout this life cycle of the project, there will be many outputs that will be developed, but I thought that it will be easier to put Big Wise in a sentence. So if I was asked what Big Wise will aim to do, I would say that Big Wise will develop a European strategy to address the digital skill needs in the work integration social enterprises sector. As we also saw previously, as previously Martina shared with us, there are different actors, different members in the YC sector, and these are also the project target groups. In the first level, we have the workers. We have the workers with support needs, the workers that unfortunately, most of them are more susceptible to social exclusion. These include persons with disabilities, older persons, long-term unemployed, migrants, or people that are neither in education nor in employment or training. In another target group are the supporters, the people that support the workers with these needs, and also the enablers, the people that are enabling an adequate working environment for for the rest of the target groups. And these are managers or the developers and engineers of digital technologies. And all these groups are groups that the Big Wise project is targeting. As I mentioned previously, the project will run for 4 years and it will develop many outputs, but I thought that it will be important to highlight the milestones of the project. So first of all, now we are in the process of developing a report that looks on identifying the different subsectors of YCs, but also to identify what are the current skill gaps in the sector, and also to anticipate the future skill needs. Based on this research, on this report, we will be able to know the skills that we need to address, and therefore we will develop an EU vocational and educational training curricula that will address these 3 main target groups that were presented to you previously. After that, we will implement these EU training curricula and evaluate them in 13 different countries, and these curricula will be then assessed by certification authorities. At the end, what is very important is to continue using the project outcomes and to continue to improving the skills in the YC sector. And for this reason, we will establish alliances, a network of YCs, and we will establish a European sectoral skill strategy for the YC sector. The project is led by ESPD and NC, and with the support of 28 partners from 13 different countries. These are people that represent YCs, VAT providers, national authorities, but also European umbrella organizations. Last but not least, I would like to highlight that Big Wise will certainly establish an EU-wide partnership for skills on YCs. It will support the overall growth of the sector, and also all these partners and all these project outcomes together, we will aim to further support people who are more susceptible to social exclusion in order not to be further excluded from the labor market or from the society in general due to digitalization. As we saw, the Big Wise targets YCs from different economic domains, groups of workers, different groups of workers, but also different staff categories.
Konstantina, 1 minute, sorry for this, not more.
No, this is perfectly fine because this is my last slide.
Perfect.
So thank you very much for your attention. We will be very thankful to reach out to us. We want to connect with you. And please, if you are interested and if you want to learn more, reach out to us. Today, we also launched our social media channels. So please go to Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, type bigwise/project and follow us in order to stay in tune and to learn more about the progress of our project. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Konstantina. It was really interesting. We have many work ongoing on WISEs, so in order to boost them. Then, unfortunately, there's no time for Q&A session, but we will now be helped by Thomas in order to understand how to go into the breakout rooms where we can ask our question to the different speakers. Thank you very much. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Patrizia. I'm having some minor issues on my side. I can't share my screen. I'm not sure why. But anyway, we have 4 workshops now, which will be repeated twice, meaning that we will have a first session now from 10:30 to 11:15. We will then have a 15-minute break before starting a second session where the same workshops will happen again from 11:30 to 12:15. What this means is that you can join not 1 workshop, but 2. The workshops that we have we have a workshop, the first workshop 1, which you should be able to see if you click the 3 dots on the left side of your screen and then click the button on breakout rooms. You should be able to see the list of different workshops. Workshop 1 will be presenting the DWISE network, which is let's say a cross-European network representing different WISEs. Workshop 2 will be focusing on a social enterprise in Germany, an IT company, which also employ lots of people with disabilities, and that will be IFB's workshop 2. Workshop 3 will be if you want to learn more about the great work that is being done in Flanders, Belgium, in terms of innovation, digitalisation, and also recovering from the crisis. That will be workshop 3, and workshop 4 will be looking into work integration social enterprises in Romania and Slovenia. So on the left side of your screen, you should be able to see 3 dots. You click on those 3 dots, then you will have an opening a session or looking at breakout rooms, and then you can choose which breakout room you want to use. Workshop 1, the DWISE network. Workshop 2, making IT social and green. Workshop 3, work integration in Flanders. And workshop 4, work integration in Romania and Slovenia. So please join these sessions, and we will then see you again later in time. Thank you very much. Well, it's 12:20, so I suggest we start. Thank you very much for those who are still with us. The next, let's say 30 minutes, maybe a bit more, a bit less, will be a discussion around the social economy and what sort of role the European Union and the European Commission can play in supporting this sector. As some of you may know, work integration and social enterprises, they play quite an important part, if not a very important part of the social economy, as we've seen in the workshops. But at the same time, it's quite difficult to define sometimes what social economy is. In some ways, as we see with work integration and social enterprises, they are active in all sectors of the economy, or most of the sectors in the economy. Work integration and social enterprises also have very different sizes. Some of them are small and medium-sized enterprises. Some of them are very, very large. And so how can you support, to a certain extent, a sector which is so diverse in terms of its attributes? Equally important is also to acknowledge that most, let's say, policies or many policies that can support social economy and work integration social enterprises, they are made at local, regional, or national level. So is there a role for the European Union? Yes or no? The European Commission, under at least Commissioner Nicolas Schmit, certainly thinks there is a role for the European Union and the European Commission to support the social economy and work integration social enterprises. They plan to launch by the end of this year an action plan to support the social economy. The idea is that what they do is they're trying to promote recognition of the sector. They're trying to promote the right use of legal frameworks like public procurement, like state aid, where the EU does have legitimacy and competence over. They're trying to help social economy enterprises get access to finance, access to money, and that can also include EU funds, but not only. It's also about private money, loans, social impact bonds, things like that. And of course, social economy, many of the players are focused in Europe, but also there's a global nature to the social economy, and how can we develop the social economy outside of Europe as well. So the Commission are exploring different trends, different things, initiatives that they can do. And what we're going to try and discuss today is really what can be done in that regard. So we have a panel of speakers. Unfortunately, Corine van der Burgt, who's the president of NCA, has fallen sick, so she's unable to join us today. But she will be replaced by Patrizia Bussi, who moderated the first panel, and she will join us a bit later to bring in the perspective of NCA. We also have Fabrizio de Angelis, who is policy officer at EASPD. EASPD is a network of social service providers, service providers for people with disabilities, active in work and employment, active in care, active in all these areas. We also have Sabina Lobato, who works for Fundación 11, who are a very, very large social enterprise in Spain, and very, very active in the employment of people with disabilities and many other areas. We have Christoph Teusch, who is from Germany, IFB, which is a social enterprise in Germany, who are very active also. So this is and Patrizia will join us later. So we have an interesting panel of experts to discuss what can be done by the European Commission in this action plan. And then in around half an hour, we will pass the floor to Carlo Borzaga for some concluding remarks. So if everyone is okay for that, then let's start with a question for Fabrizio. As we've seen today in these sessions, the social economy and work integration social enterprises have a big impact on the employment of what we call disadvantaged groups, but it's people who are often excluded from the labour market. In your view, what can be done in practice to help work integration social enterprise employ more people with disabilities? What is the role of the Commission? Fabrizio.
Thank you, Tom. Can you hear?
Yes.
Yes. So basically, sorry. So I have more or less 5 minutes, isn't it? Yeah. So what does the EU Social Economy Action Plan need to do? So basically, the action plan will be launched by the European Commission at the end of this year. And it is a key part of the EU strategy on the rights of persons with disability. And it will be focused on improving social inclusion through work and employment. The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities establishes that persons with disability have the right to decent working condition and equal treatment for their jobs. Some of the current solutions for employment of persons with disabilities are not fully in line with the convention. Social economy has a key role in the implementation of the convention. As many work integration social enterprises implement these principles. Very important. The European Union is a signatory of the UN Convention, and for this reason, the future EU Action Plan on Social Economy should help to improve the labour market outcomes in work integration social enterprises. Among the existing tools which should be used to enforce the existing legislation, there are, as you said, public procurement, the state aid policy, and EU funds. So as regards public procurement for social enterprises, Article 20 of the EU Public Procurement Directive gives to the EU member states the possibility to reserve contracts, let me cite, to sheltered workshops and economic operators whose main aim is the social and professional integration of disabled and disadvantaged persons. The Public Procurement Directive is applicable only to calls for public contracts above a certain threshold. For public contracts falling below this threshold, EU member states have full discretionality, on how to implement the rules on reserved contracts. As regards social economy enterprises, the provisions established by Article 20 of the directive and national provision regarding public contracts should be used more and better by EU member states, and specific initiatives to promote this area should be organized. For instance, the EU Action Plan on Social Economy can create opportunities to train contracting authorities on how to use Article 20 of the directive to promote the employment of persons with disabilities. And another example may be better training staff of social economy enterprises on how to prepare tenders and how to access reserved contracts. In order to promote the access to contracts for social economy enterprises, a possible revision of the directive should focus on a socially responsible public procurement approach. EU member states are key and should also reserve a part of public procurement procedures to social economy enterprises, including shelter workshops and economic operators whose main goal is the social and professional integration of disabled and disadvantaged persons. So the focus in any case should be on improving the labor market outcomes with work integration of social enterprises. And yes, second, state aid policy. As regards state aid policy, the European Commission should encourage the use of public aids to cover the additional costs that employers may face if they employ persons with disabilities. So the EU policy on state aid is important to create a level playing field between organizations that employ persons with disabilities and organizations who does not. National authorities are important and should facilitate the financial support to social economy enterprises through a stronger use of exemptions and a better use of the de minimis rules on state aid. So, so in these areas, the future action plan should include activities dedicated to this objective, including, for example, projects of research and promotional activities. And also workshops on how to use state aid to maximize the employment of persons with disability are an important tool to support member states. Finally, the third tool, EU funds. So the EU Action Plan on Social Economy should also include the precise steps that the European Commission will take to ensure that all relevant EU direct funds create opportunities to social economy organizations. In addition to that, EU funds for neighbored countries should provide specific financial provisions to support social economy enterprises. And more specifically, in order to achieve the EU priorities on the green transition and on the achievement of the digital single market, specific financial tools, mainly in the framework of the European Social Funds and of the European Regional Development Funds, should be available to support social economy. This is very important. It is also important that national and regional authorities include support to the social economy in the operational programs that they are now negotiating with the European Commission on the use mainly of the European Social Fund Plus and the European Regional Development Fund. And finally, it is also very important that the social economy action plan will be backed by a targeted use of the EU budget to support its activities. Yes, I'm finished, Tom.
Thank you very much, Fabrizio. I think a clear overview of some of the main instruments that can be used to help work integration social enterprises do what they do and do it better. It's not just about the state continuing the status quo. I think many social enterprises also need to do more, need to do better at creating good jobs for people with disabilities. It's a continuous search. You mentioned public procurement and state aid, which are two legal frameworks which the Commission has competence over and legislates over. And the legislation is not always that bad. It offers quite a lot of opportunities on the ground for the correct use to support the employment of people with disabilities. But the problem is that it's not always used to its full potential. And so the action, if I understand correctly, Fabrizio, you're saying that the action plan to create targeted initiatives to make sure that on the ground we use these EU initiatives in the best possible way. And then you also mentioned EU funds. Again, an important context right now is that the member states are negotiating their programs on how they want to use EU funds with the Commission, and they need to open up opportunities for the social economy to make sure that they can invest in them in the near future. Talking about EU funds, I will now pass the floor to Sabina. You work a lot on EU funds. There's also the Recovery and Resilience Facility, which is nearly 700 billion euros of European fund, European programs to invest. What are your thoughts on how these different instruments can help our sector better deliver for people with disabilities and other disadvantaged groups? Sabina?
Okay. EU funds are really crucial for social economy, and we have to learn from the past in terms of how European funds and these large-scale programs can reach really, as you've said, a small work integration social enterprises that sometimes and in many cases don't have larger structures or specialized staff to prepare documentation or projects for tenders. So this is really a concern in terms of in the short term, for instance, and in particular in the case of Spain, how the recovery plans are going to reach these small and medium WISEs. And so I'm very much in favor of considering transversal measures that could serve as a support structure or network that can help WISEs to reach these European funds. So I think that, as you've said, also access to public financing and investment is a barrier for social economy enterprises in general, and in particular to those that act as non-for-profit model. Then special attention should be given to ensure that especially non-for-profit organizations are not discriminated against as compared to for-profit and public enterprises. So this access to funding will also as well support these enterprises in the adaptation to just transition process and allow them to boost their social impact, adding sustainability, environmental friendly to their economic practices. So yes, financing will be needed also to face digital transformation that in many cases can be crucial to continue operating in their respective markets for these companies. So yes, I think that's all for my parts in this. particular topic of financing.
Thanks a lot, Sabina. So primarily targeted actions to boost the capacity of the sector to access EU funds is important. And also, resuming a bit, maybe too shortly, but also digitalisation is good, it's important, it can create opportunities for the sector, but we need funds to help our sector to digitalise. Because of course it won't always happen on its own. Thank you, Sabina. I may come back to you with a question later because you raised a point regarding not-for-profits being discriminated against compared to other organizations. So I may have a question for you there afterwards. Okay. Christoph, you represent an organization in Germany, sometimes a bit far away from European Union discussions, I guess, in your day-to-day life. But ultimately, this action plan, if it's going to have an impact, it needs to be able to support organizations like yours, companies like yours. So what do you see as important for this action plan? Maybe a few words.
Yes, so please interrupt me if I'm talking too much. We are based in Germany, but we are also represented in 5 European countries nowadays. So, but yes, you're right. From the practical perspective, it's like this. I think in the past, only social enterprises have asked themselves what specific social problems they want to solve with a business model. But today, I think we are in a transformation to a sustainable society and economy. And I believe that nowadays, traditional companies have also to ask them a similar question. What purpose do they have? Do they want to be part of a solution of social issues, or want they be part of a problem in the future? And therefore, I think such a social economy action plan should address as well the social enterprises or social organizations as well, but maybe also traditional companies to help them to transform, to change. And this could be maybe done to, I can't be too political today, but to help them to select more sustainable or more social suppliers where they want to partner with. So, but in specific ideas we have already heard it, to strengthen the public procurement, of course. I think it's on the hand. Public procurement is a huge lever. And I believe here concrete that we need to sharpen social ecological criteria, as well as to share a specific part of the public contracts, or to reserve a specific part of public contracts for social organizations. And of course, we need an awareness campaign. I think there are still traditional companies who are not addressing, or who are not dealing with the social issues. And I think, yes, to help them with a campaign to boost inclusion in their own company, but also maybe to strengthen the inclusion in the supply chain as well. This could be also done. And we have already heard it. So it's, obviously we have the same ideas to support the regional clusters, the networking clusters, the structures, and to fund them more. I think we see all now the impact hubs who are popping up, but I think it should be more. It should be more professional. Yes, that's from my side so far.
Thanks a lot, Christoph. Good to see they're quite in line with what the European networks are saying as well. And I think you raise a very important point, which is what is the role of the social economy to encourage, to push, to shape more mainstream companies, and also being more social. And the action plan has a role to do that. Of course, one aim is to support social enterprises, but I think we should also be encouraging mainstream enterprises to act as such. And public procurement and state aid are also good tools there as well. So thanks, Christoph.
Yeah, well, one last comment, if it's okay. I have mentioned in the workshop that we see ourselves as part of the value chain of the other companies, and to understand that everything is connected. And that we not only should focus on social organization itself, also to help the traditional companies to transform. This is, I think, a statement from us.
Yeah,
okay.
no, very, very clear. So connected to the social enterprises are connected to the supply chain, to the normal economy, and you shouldn't see them as two separate things either, because I guess a lot of the money or the products that you or services that you sell, it's also to mainstream businesses, and you buy from mainstream businesses as well. So not to disconnect.
Exactly. Thank you.
I'm glad to see that it's warm weather in Spain, because in Brussels it's very cold. No, I'm joking. Hopefully we can get some nice weather here too. Patrizia, I saw your face appear. Patrizia Bussi, you with us?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Great. Welcome, Patrizia, and thank you for. I know you're participating in many events this morning, but it's good to have you with us. You're the director or SecGen of NCE, which is the network of social integration enterprises, I think. Maybe you can correct me. What is your view on the social economy action plan based on what you've heard today? What's really needed to make a difference?
So thank you very much. First of all, Thomas. I heard an echo. I hope you don't hear it.
We don't hear it.
Okay. So it's important. It's a crucial moment for us. After, I think, 21st, so 10 years, we have again a big opportunity. So to have this plan that should not be, as I say also yesterday, a declaration, but should be something really concrete that can boost our enterprise and in particular our WISEs. We need it because we need a proposal, we need a change that can allow our enterprise to be more developed and new one to be developed. We need also a time frame. I think this is very important. A monitoring system of the action plan. And these are two key elements for us. Time frame, so a specific time, and then after this time, a monitor during the plan, but also after at the end of this time frame. Why it's so important for us? We have prepared with NC, so with the network of work integration social enterprise is more targeting disadvantaged group than disabled one, so more targeting long-term unemployed, people with all type of social problems, ex-prisoner, or people with some dependence. So these are the specific target group of WISEs within NC. For sure, there are also disabled ones, but we are more targeted disadvantaged one. And we have tried to work together our member, and we have prepared also a clear document in which we suggest different action concerning legislative challenge, access to market, access to finance, the importance of having WISEs representative in the European semester process at European level for sure, as NC, SPD and so on, but also at national level, to have WISEs mainstream in all the other policy, as for example the industrial one, as for example the European Pillar of Social Rights, and also external dimension. So I will concentrate my 2 points on the legislative challenge, because these are the one that are really crucial. The first point is that we are supporting the social economy Europe call to have a recommendation, a new recommendation in which we define the social economy enterprise, to have also a sort of definition of work integration social enterprise, or at least some main guidelines that can define work integration social enterprise, so to help a country in which this concept is not so well developed until now, and we know that there are, to build on the experience of the other. And within this main recommendation, in order to give you some example, we have the fact that WISEs are a typology of social enterprise and a subset of social economy that have their main objective, the professional integration of group with support need, that can be done by creating permanent jobs, so we call the stable model of WISEs, or transitional work experience that aim their integration in the market also through training and job coach opportunity. Then, for example, it's important to have a guidelines on the fact that the WISEs are economic operator whose at least 30% of the employee are disabled and disadvantaged workers. So to keep this percentage, because we know that having more than these can be difficult for the sustainability of the enterprise. So there are some main guidelines that then I will share with you. We will share with you our contribution in the chat. And these are the first point. The second point of the legislative challenge is the fact that we have some really concrete points. Many of them, unfortunately, I was not there, but I think were already repeated by my colleague. As for example, I heard about state aids, but I think there are a possibility of to have a better legislation on the de minimis regulation, on the social service of general economic interest, on the SME definition, on the VAT also. So there are some proposal that we can do concerning these legislative document, because we are talking about regulation, about directive, about decision that are important. We know that they are not for now, because this year is not the year in which we will revise all these regulations, but we need a reference to all these legislative change needed already in the action plan, so that when we will have the good time, so when we will be in 2 years or in 3 years, we will have to act because we will need this change. We could refer already to a European document, and this will help our lobbying work. This is our contribution, not only mine, but the contribution of ENSI and the network I represent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrizia. Important indeed to talk about, the role of the European Union in setting definitions and setting frameworks, time frames, monitoring systems to make sure that we develop as a continent, to a certain extent, the social economy, not just in countries where social economy are well established, where they're quite strong and they're reasonably well supported, but also in countries where this is less the case. And I think that's particularly important also in those countries. We have maybe a few minutes left. I may ask a question to Sabina, if that's okay. You talked about, let's say, the specific nature of not-for-profit within the social economy. Why is that so important for you?
Okay. In terms of economic models, I think it's important to consider that of course the legislation frameworks can promote social impact of enterprises in different different type of formulas, but in particular in the case of Spain, the main idea should be to consider that if it is reasonable or not to have the same legislative support measures and finance measures for models that work for profit than other models that are non-for-profit. So this is something that is crucial for us, because it's generating quite a lot of tension in the sector, and I think it's important also talking about the European context, that EU could promote and support projects that have the aim to research and to improve the understanding of the different approaches of social economy enterprises, and covering, for instance, topics like the chosen social goals and the reinvestment of benefits into them, the employment approaches to gender equality, for instance, in workers with disabilities, also issues dealing with business models and economic choices, or even policies or procedures to establish the governance, the inclusive internal governance. That is also a key point that is also aligned with the UN Convention in terms of considering inclusive employment. So I think to clarify and to raise knowledge in this field is really crucial, and this has to do in many cases not only for that, but in many cases has to do with the different models, talking about for-profit and non-for-profit models.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sabina. I think this topic is important because the European Commission is or has been in the past a bit reluctant to differentiate between for-profit and not-for-profit enterprises, even though they function often in different ways with different support measures and elements like that. Yeah. So it's, I think, quite an important point that should be part of this social economy action plan also.
That's right.
Thank you, Sabina. Maybe one last word from Christoph. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I totally agree. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah. I have a kind of echo. Okay. Yes, my last comment is, but it's more like technical. So sometimes I'm asking myself, how do we measure the success of social enterprises? So that is also maybe a chance now to make a standard for social impact measurement also in the future, to make it somehow visible to others, beyond financial figures, that you can demonstrate your impact. Maybe I'm not quite sure if this is a main topic for this action plan, but I think this is also a crucial discussion also in our company, because nowadays we are just counting the amount of jobs for people with disabilities we have created, but somehow I think it's not the one and only possibility to track your impact. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, an important question for sure.
Yes, there are standards, but they are not somehow well known or not applicable. Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed, we have many discussions on that topic. Thank you, Christoph. And now, if I may, I will pass the floor to Carlo Borzaga, who's president of Eurixe, for some concluding remarks. Thank you for all the panelists for this panel session. Carlo, the floor is yours. You are muted, Carlo.
Okay, thank you and good evening. But it's not easy to try to summarize a so rich workshop. This previous one, and I follow some of the workshop, and there are a lot of innovative experiences presented today, and also most of your comments now about the tools for developing WISEs are correct. I agree with most of them. I don't repeat. I avoid to repeat all of them. I will say another thing, that I think that we need to. We are still in a process to be fully recognized. My point is that we still have to make policymakers at the European level and at the national level to understand that WISEs are already widespread in Europe. You are employing hundreds of thousands of people. Probably at the end of the WISE project, we will have some more detailed data, but I think I could say at least 500,000 of jobs are created in Europe by at least 100,000 in Spain, 70,000, 80,000 in Italy. And anyway, at the end of the day, we will have a better picture. Very few people know the importance of this, the amount of jobs, not only jobs in general, but jobs for disadvantaged people, or form of training for allowing them to stay or to enter in the market. Not only, most of these organizations are only taking into account or are also paying attention also to the products and the process they use. Many of WISEs work in the field of environmental services, circular economy, social agriculture, and so on, biological, which are consistent with the evolution toward a more ecological attention of ecological issues. They match these two social or this attention to employ the advantaged people, at the same time to employ them in a sustainable way, or in sector also developing sustainable activities. Some researchers also have demonstrated that they produce a value also for the public authorities, which is higher than the subsidies they receive. This was a research done by Riche on Italy, for instance, but also by ONCE in Spain, and the results are similar. No, they give back to the public authorities much more than they receive. And this must be stressed because the policymakers have to understand this. The second point is that WISE need to be considered an innovative tool, not for social policy simply, but for employment policies. WISEs are a tool for labor policy, through which they reach also social integration. But one of the points I see in many cases is that they are considered as a kind of distributive policies. No, they are a labor policy, and it's an innovative tool developed by the bottom in many cases. And this is to recognize WISEs as a labor policy tool is a condition to be fully acknowledged and recognized in all the documents. For instance, in not only obviously we have now the social economy action plan, but it's not the only place in which we have to go through or to stress the importance and to give room to WISEs. There are a lot of other documents, for instance, the European Green Deal, the European Program Action, the social rights pillar for social rights. Also, this is an document where WISEs must be quoted. But also in the national New Generation EU plan, for instance, in Italy, we don't see anything about. They are not quoted as a tool for the national plan. Talk a lot about the inclusive and social inclusion, but they don't say anything about the role played by 6,000 organizations, which provide 70,000 jobs, of which 30,000 are for disadvantaged people. So this is what do we need first of all in these documents, European documents, is the recognition of the specificity of the WISE model. They are not simply. This is a problem because all the other families of the social economy are defined by the legal structure: cooperatives, foundation, association, and so on. WISEs take in different countries different legal framework, legal model. We have cooperatives, social enterprises, associations, WISE. We can have WISEs established as limited liability companies, so it's much more nearer from the legal point of view to for-profit companies. This is the reason why we need to have a definition which is specific for WISEs, to recognize them as one form of the big family of the social economy. If we don't go through this recognition, I think we will have problems also to develop new policies. So my idea is that we need to be recognized as to have the recognition of the importance of the sector, to be recognized as a labor policy tool, like other tools, labor policy tools, and to have a definition for WISE, specific for WISEs in the action plan, in the social economic action plan, and as a consequence in all the other documents, because we need one document with the definition and the other which can refer to this definition. If we are able to go through this, or to convince the European Commission to go in this direction, I think we can also rethink all the policies, all the support measures. For instance, now WISEs are subsidized in a way or in another. Any country has different policies. But if I look at the way in which they are subsidized, it's like you are a poor guy, I give you some money. Since you are doing a good thing, I give you some. No, the problem is that what the state must do is to pay the services to employ people. So we need to compare the result, economic result of the activity, to the amount of money received by the state, because this is, for instance, we have the experience of the social fund, the structural funds. They pay a lot of money to finance courses in classes for normal people. They don't really, in many countries, they don't recognize the on-the-job training given by WISEs. So they spend 100,000 euro to pay to organize courses which are not always very useful, but they don't recognize the on-the-job training given by. So we have to change the regulation of subsidies, and to avoid to call them subsidies. They are not subsidies. They are the price paid by the state, because these organizations are making training for the advantaged people, like you pay other services, like the state pay for buying other services. Second point is that obviously we need to increase the access to market. These are enterprises. They need to have easier access to market, given the role played by this organization in providing jobs for disadvantaged people. And this is this includes all the social clauses, the reserved contracts. From my point of view, I would say we have to ask for 10% of all the public demand for goods and services must be reserved to these organizations. If you reach this, if you would be able to reach this target, I think we could have enough market in different sectors or in different activities to increase and to strengthen the role of this organization. And obviously, it's also important to establish a partnership with the conventional enterprises. I don't call for profit, because many of them are not for profit. Are simply enterprises that established by an entrepreneur, who derives from the enterprise the income for a good living standard. I think that this debate about for profit and profit is quite old. Now, this is a conventional enterprises which can be interested in taking charge a social responsibility through the inclusion of disadvantaged people. And this is a possible. I don't see, at least in Italy, many progress in this field, but we can hope that in the future some attention can be given to work integration also by conventional enterprises, and this is a possible way for increasing, not only increasing the quantity of the production, the quantity of people employed, but also to increase the quality of the production process, and also the training, to train people for the real open labor market. If the WISEs interact with conventional enterprises, they can improve also the quality of the training. But we still need, this is today's seminar shows that we need also to increase or to encourage the exchange of practices. I think that we are still in a situation where the exchange of practices can help a lot the development of this organization. And only the last point I should say also something more, but
Carlo, if you could conclude, because yes, our interpreters need to leave.
Okay, I finish. Another thing about technology and digital skills or digital technology. From today, I realize, also for the experience I have, there are a lot of WISEs are still using technology, and they are using technology in a proper way, digital and not digital technologies. There is room for improving. There are examples, for instance, where the WISEs have changed the production process to allow more people to be more disadvantaged people to be employed, to follow. It's not simply don't simply adapt the workplace. They adapted all the production process. They changed it, the way in which the production is organized. There is room for improving, and this room for improving is I try to find, or I see three possible development in using many digital technology. One is to use them for improving, to better organize the production, to be more efficient, but also to be more inclusive of disadvantaged workers. The second,
sorry, Carlo, you have 1 minute because the interpreters really need to meet.
I finish. The second way is to monitor the integration process. So we have many WISEs have developed a kind of integration process. They follow the integration of each worker through different instruments. Obviously, technology can help to integrate all this process and to do it better. And another thing I see emerging is a support in the e-commerce strategies. So there is a lot of social enterprises which are going to in the final market. So they are producing goods for people, and most of them are products which are of interest to a particular type of clients, and e-commerce can help a lot in developing this new market for WISEs. There are a lot of things to do, and we have a lot of effort to do.
Thank you very much for those concluding remarks. Many very interesting points. I want to thank all the speakers for joining this session. I know we had to organize it in difficult conditions, but I'm glad that we achieved what we did. And I also want to thank the participants and also the interpreters for doing the great and important job they do. So thanks to everybody, and look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you.